Good morning. It's a beautiful day here at Krieger Park in New Haven, Indiana, where I'm walking around. Actually, funny story, no joke. I got out of the car this morning and someone walks up to me and says, "You're that person that is there." He said, "You're that Facebook man." I'm like, okay. Anyway, so I woke up this morning to the sounds of birds, and you might be able to hear some in the background even now. And sometimes when that happens, it reminds me of sparrows, and it did today. And I'm not even sure what sound a sparrow makes, but whenever I hear birds chirping, which I do right now, it does remind me of sparrows. And it reminds me of the story in the Bible that talks about how much a sparrow is worth, which is not a whole lot. In fact, it says a sparrow is sold, or two sparrows are sold for a penny. And so, for any of you sparrows that might be watching this, I'm sorry to share that bad news, but you're not worth a whole lot. In fact, you're worth half a penny. So, not good news for the sparrows. But for all you humans that are out there, there is some good news, because even though that sparrow is worth a half a penny, so pretty much worthless, it says that not one sparrow falls to the ground without God knowing about it. God knows everything about that sparrow. And we would look at that and we would say the sparrow is pretty much worthless. But look at something that has almost no value, and it says God knows everything about that sparrow. And then it says that you human person watching this, you are worth far more than a whole flock of sparrows. So again, think of that thing that has hardly any value, and it says God knows everything about that sparrow. Compare you to that. You're worth more than a whole flock of sparrows. You are valuable to God. He knows everything about you. It says he knows the very number of hairs on your head. That knows you. That's knowing you pretty well, knowing every detail of your life pretty well. And so I'm thankful for that sound of the sparrow this morning to remind us all that God knows everything that we are going through. We can choose to include him in our life. We can choose not to include him in our life. We have that choice, and that's fine. I can tell you that if you choose to let him in, there's some good things that happen there. And that passage in Matthew 10, if you want to check it out, it's later in the chapter. That verse that I'm thinking about actually starts off with the words, "Don't be afraid." And depending on what kind of season of life that we're in, there's lots of things that we can be afraid of. But again, the whole intent of this passage is to remind us of this sparrow that, most people would look at and say it has no worth, no value. Man, it's worth a half a penny. What in the world can you do with half a penny? Not much. So if you feel like you are worthless, today I just share with you that you have a huge amount of worth to God. You're worth more than a whole flock of sparrows. He knows everything about you. He cares about you. He would love to be included in your life. He would love to help you through this life that we all go through. And you're worthy. You have worth. You have value. God thinks you're a pretty amazing person. So I would encourage you, if you haven't, man, let him into your life. Let him be included in your life. And if you hear the sound of birds, which I don't know if you can on this video or not, I can right now. When you hear that sound, just think of the sparrow and know that you are more valuable to God than a whole flock of sparrows.